Alright, so this video is titled Slope-Intercept Form Practice. So we're going to cover the key things you have to know about slope-intercept form, and then the practice problems you'll see on Khan Academy. So, obviously, the first thing you need to know is what is slope-intercept form? So remember, slope-intercept form is that equation we keep talking about. Y equals mx plus b. So y and x, those are just numbers you plug in from the lines. So if the line was going through 0, 0, you could plug in 0, 0 there to solve for the slope or the y-intercept. So usually you'll see y and x just left there. M is the slope. Okay, remember slope, that's the steepness of the line. Slope is the rate of change. It's rise over run, change in y over change in x. B is the y-intercept. Okay, so slope, steepness, rise over run, change in y over change in x. Y-intercept, that's where the line goes through the y-axis. All right, so let's do some practice problems. Number 1. What is the slope of, so what is the slope of ... So A is going to be y equals 5x minus 1. So what's the slope of y equals 5x minus 1? Okay, well, slope is m. So slope is whatever is touching that x in this equation. So slope m equals 5, because it's y equals mx plus b. So the slope is 5. Okay, what is the slope for y equals 4 minus 2x? So pause the video and try to figure out what the slope is for this equation. All right, well, y equals 4 minus 2x. Is that in y equals mx plus b form? No. These two are rearranged, so we need to flip them. Y equals, so we want mx first. So minus 2x, so negative 2x needs to be first, and then that positive 4 will follow. So now it's in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So what is our m? It's negative 2. Okay, so let's try another one. Y equals x plus 5. So pause the video and try to figure out what is the slope of this equation. All right, well, is it in slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b? Yes. But there's nothing in front of x. So what's the slope? It's not 0. You need to know that the invisible number in front of x is always a 1. So slope m equals 1. All right, so the last one like this. What is the slope for the equation y equals negative 4? Okay, well, this equation y equals negative 4 is telling us that if you have your graph, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, x, y is always going to be negative 4. So actually, if you have an equation and it's y equals and it's just a number, that's just a horizontal line at the number. So this is the graph of y equals negative 4 actually. It's just this line right here. So what's the slope? What's the steepness of a horizontal line? Well, we learned a few days ago when we were learning about slope, a horizontal line has a slope of 0. The steepness doesn't change. You're just walking straight across. So that's the case because look, there's no mx. It's just y equals b. That's the y-intercept. That's where the graph goes through the y-axis. Where's the mx? Well, it's technically y equals mx is actually 0x. There isn't one plus b, so minus 4. That's what the actual equation is. Y equals mx plus b. There's no slope. The slope is nothing. The slope is 0. So m equals 0. Okay, so those were 4 practice problems finding the slope when given an equation. Okay, so it's important to know that the slope, when it's in slope-intercept form, is m. It's the number, the coefficient of the x. Okay, so the next type of problem I want to do is what is the y-intercept of ... So now instead of finding the slope when given an equation, we're going to find the y-intercept. Remember, the slope is the letter m. Okay? It's the steepness of the graph. The y-intercept is the letter b. Y equals mx plus b. The b is the y-intercept. It's where the line, the graph, goes through the y-axis. So what is the y-intercept, or what is the b in the equation? Y equals 5x minus 1. So remember, this is in y equals mx plus b form. So what is our plus b? Well, it's the -1. So our y-intercept, and remember, y-intercept, so the y is -1. Our x for the y-intercept is always 0. I'm going to say that again. The x value for your y-intercept is always 0 because that's where the line goes through the y-axis. So you're not moving left or right off of the y-axis. Y-intercept, x is 0. The y value is whatever b is. Okay, so let's try another one. What is the y-intercept for y equals -3 minus 7x? Okay, so pause the video and try to figure out what b is. So y equals -3 minus 7x. Was this in y equals mx plus b form? Note, these got flipped around again, so we need to fix that. So all you do is rearrange it. Minus 7x goes first, so -7x. Minus 3, -3 goes next. Okay, so now it's in y equals mx plus b form. So what is our plus b? -3. So the y-intercept, well, we know the x value is always 0 for our y-intercept. And our b is the y, so -3. So 0, -3 is the y-intercept. Okay. What is the y-intercept of y equals -3x? So y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. Where is our plus b? Because plus b is our y-intercept. Well, there's not one written, so it must be plus 0. So our y-intercept, our b, is 0. So if that's the case, we already know our x is always 0 for the y-intercept. So it's at 0, 0. So if you graphed this linear equation, if you graph this, it would be a line. It would be a line like this that starts at 0, 0, because that's your y-intercept, goes through the origin, and now the slope is negative 3. So remember that negative 3, if the slope is negative 3, that's a negative 3 over an invisible 1. So rise over run. So we fall 3, rise, drop 3, run 1, positive 1 right. So that's the equation of y equals negative 3x. It has a slope of negative 3. You drop 3, right 1, drop 3, right 1, and it goes through 0, 0 because the y-intercept is 0, 0. Okay, let's do one more like this. What is the y-intercept for y equals 5? Y equals 5. This is just like y equals negative 4. When it's y equals and it's just a number, that means that graph, the entire line is a horizontal line going through 5. So y equals 5 is just a horizontal line where y is always 5. Okay, so obviously the y-intercept is right there. It's at 0, 5. So y equals 0x plus 5, basically. That's what this equation really is, because there's no slope. The slope is 0. The steepness never changes. So the slope is 0, so they don't even write that. Plus 5 is the y-intercept. Okay, so let's do 2 more examples in this video. I want us to write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line whose y-intercept is 0, 5 and slope is negative 1/2. Okay, so write that down. Write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line whose y-intercept is 0, 5 and slope is negative 1/2. Okay, so slope-intercept form. Well, slope-intercept form. So we're writing an equation. So linear equation is going to be a line. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And we know m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. Okay, so write an equation for the line. Okay, y-intercept, or the y-intercept is 0, 5. The slope is negative 1/2. So y equals mx plus b. Okay, so try to fill it in. Where's the slope going to go? Where is our y-intercept going to go? Okay. So we leave the y equals x part. Our m is our slope. They told us our slope is negative 1/2, so we're going to fill that in right here. Plus b, so y equals negative 1/2, that's saying y equals slope is negative 1/2, yes, x plus b, so plus what our y-intercept is. Y-intercept is 5, so plus Okay, so that is the equation. Because from looking at this, we know the y-intercept is 5, the slope is negative 1/2. I'm going to grab a sheet of graph paper. Let's review how to graph this. So I got my graph paper. So we draw our coordinate plane. Okay, this is my x-axis, that's my y-axis, and it's going by ones. So, when we graph this, right off the bat, we start with the y-intercept at 5, 0, 5. 0, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, it says the slope is negative 1/2. So, if the slope is negative 1/2. Well, we know that slope is rise over run. So we're going to rise, so it's negative 1/2. So usually I just attach that negative to the numerator and I make it the same as like negative 1/2. You could attach it to the denominator. As long as you only attach it to either the numerator or the denominator, you're fine. So negative 1/2, the slope. So we're going to drop 1, because it's rise, so drop 1, okay, run 2. So drop 1, run right 2. And then you have another dot, and you can keep going. Drop 1, run 2. Drop 1, run 2. So then, if you did it the other way, instead of negative 1/2, it could be 1/-2. That would be rise 1, so up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. And then you connect the dots, and your linear equation has graphed a line. Okay, let's do one more example. So I want us to, let me see, how much room is that going to take up? It's going to go right there. Okay, so write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line whose y-intercept is 0, -8, and slope is -2. Okay, so after you write this, I want you to try this one on your own. So slope-intercept form. Well, I know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. I know m is my slope, which they said is -2. So let me plug that in for m. And b is my y-intercept. Y-intercept is where it goes through the y-axis when my x is 0. What goes through at -8. So I'm going to write negative or -8. So that's my equation. -8, y-intercept. -2 is my slope. Now if I want to graph it, I'm going to do my coordinate plane. I know it has to go down far to -8, so I'm going to see 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Okay, so I'll start this up higher. Let's just do it right there. So that's my y-axis, that's my x-axis. Okay, so the equation or the problem said So we're going to graph this. It says we wrote y equals negative 2x minus 8 because we knew that our y-intercept is negative 8. The y-intercept is at 0, negative 8. So let's start there. That's your starting point. 0, negative 8. So 0, negative 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, we are at 0, negative 8. Okay, so how are we going to make a line? So we have our starting point. Now we have to follow our slope. Our slope is negative 2. Well, we know that slope is rise over run. And if there's not a number written under it, there's an invisible 1. So that means we need to rise negative 2. So drop 2, run 1. So write 1. So drop 2, run 1. Put a dot. Drop 2, dropping 2, running, write 1 because it's a positive 1. Now we can continue going in this direction and add more points up here. So instead of negative 2 over 1, we could say, well, technically it's also a positive 2 over a negative 1. Because negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. And 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. It's the same thing. So rise 2, run negative 1. So rise 2, 1, 2, left 1. Up 2, left 1. Up 2, left 1. One more. Up 2, left 1. The more dots you have, just the more straight your line will be when you connect the dots. Okay, so we see we have our y-intercept right here at 0, negative 8. That's why it's negative 8 for B. We have our slope of negative 2 because we go down 2, right 1. 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 And because we continued our line for so long, we can even see the x-intercept, where our line goes through the x-axis. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Right there at negative 4, 0. That's our x-axis. Okay, so guys, this was a lot of review and also, well, just not review of like stuff from forever ago. In standard, it's a lot of new stuff, but I reviewed some stuff that we were practicing yesterday and just wanted to hope you guys practice more with slope-intercept form. Please, 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 please reach out to me with questions.